So welcome to Are We On Air?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, it's such an honor, and we're in the beautiful, beautiful Apollo Saal.
Yes, in Berlin Staatshofer.
Yeah, in Berlin Staatshofer.
Many parties we have celebrated here.
Oh, yeah?
Probably will in the future. This is the reception room and the party room after the opening nights.
Ah, okay.
So these walls can tell quite some secrets.
I'm sure. Well, you're gonna have a premiere here soon for AIDA, early October.
That's right.
That's very exciting, and you just had some rehearsals.
Yes, well, I mean, now the preparation of that one is really very tense. I mean, we spend here 8 to 10 hours in a theater. In the morning, usually you come in, and then if you have 2 hours, to go home or to the hotel or apartment, whatever, it sometimes is too tiresome even. So we eat here, we go to the dressing room, we lay down, we maybe catnap a little bit, and then we go again to rehearsal. So the intensity really is very strong and very, very present. But, we do it, and then we bring out the miracle.
The magic does. 8 to 10 hours. Is that
well?
roughly?
Yeah. I mean, the last weeks really are very, very heavy. You have a musical rehearsals and checkups. You have a costume. Maybe you need to change something. Then you have to try the wigs, and then the stage rehearsals, scene rehearsals for you as a couple on on an opera. And then you have a choir scenes. The technical. Yesterday night we had the technical rehearsal where they all explained us about the syncing and uplifting certain details of the scenery. So yeah, it becomes a long day.
Because some of the pieces, as an artist, you're obviously familiar with, or I guess some of the pieces off by heart by now.
Well, every piece that I sing I know by heart.
Yeah. There you go.
But it's true that once you've done it once, the next time it only the surroundings change, the role stays the same, and the musical material stays the same. It's we sing in the Verdi operas from many, many years back. But we have a new production, and we have a new set designs, and we have new people who come in. So all of us, we need to kind of find each other. And AIDA particularly, the Verdi's AIDA is a massive piece with a lot of orchestras and ballets and choirs. And so it's 100 people, 120 people on the stage. You need to coordinate them.
Wow. Well, but before we go to today and what you're doing over the next few weeks, let's start where it all began with what's your earliest significant musical memory that shaped you as an artist?
Well, you see, my mom was a singer, so I would say that probably the first vibration of the sound was in the belly of my mom. And because I remember actually her preparing music and going and singing the concerts, I probably would say that is my first memory of actually music. My dad was a conductor, so I grew up in that all, but I cannot now tell you which was the song that I heard first. Exactly. The only thing is that when I then got older and I started to practice myself and was becoming a singer, there were so many melodies that I would open the score looking for the new songs to sing, and I was, oh, I know this. So, it has somehow integrated in my background chip of my memory bank, and so I would say that I definitely remember recordings of Queen, Freddie Mercury, long play that we had.
Yes.
I remember Wagner's Tannhäuser. By the age of 7, I went to the opera and I left after the first half because I really didn't understand anything that was going on. Theater music, obviously a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of different flashes, you would say. It's very difficult for me in my life in general, limit me for myself, for one thing like favorite dish. I don't have favorite dish, or favorite
What is
color.
your favorite dish?
Impossible.
On that note.
No, impossible.
Well, I'd like to limit you with 3 tracks or 3 records that define who you are.
Very hard. It really is.
Could be even stuff that's on the radio.
Yes, but there are a couple of pieces. I might extend it because all of them have some kind of a different impact on me. I love Piazzolla, and I love rhythm, and I love South America. So Yo Soy Maria probably is the one when I feel that when I hear that song, I can rip the world apart. It really is extremely powerful rhythm, and also the text that she sings. That maybe is one of the pieces that I love very, very much.
De Buenos Aires, María, no ven quién soy yo. María tango, María del arrabal, María noche, María pasión fatal, María del amor, de Buenos Aires soy yo. Yo soy María de Buenos Buenos Aires. Si en este barrio la gente pregunta quién soy, pronto muy bien lo sabrán las hembras que me envidiarán.
I have my cry music, which is from George Michael, The Careless Whisper. And every time when I feel somehow, I need to let it go, I put that song on a repeat, and by the 12th time, I'm done, so to say. Exactly. Thank you. Good night.
To mind a silver screen and all its sad goodbye. I'm never gonna dance again. Guilty feet have got no rhythm. Though it's easy to pretend, I know you're not a fool. Should have known better than to cheat a friend, waste the chance that I'd been given.
And then really is according to my day kind of a feeling. Something from Michael Jackson, maybe.
Like stranger in Moscow, Lord, I must say. Like stranger in Moscow, Lord, I must say. We're talking danger, we're talking danger, baby. Like stranger in Moscow.
My Candyman is from Christina Aguilera, is my perfect rhythm of my step on the running machine.
Really?
So particularly if I go overseas and, with the jet lag, you don't know what it was.
Yeah.
So by 4 o'clock, I put Candyman again on a repeat and I run my kilometers with that song.
Sugar Candyman.
I met him out for dinner on a Friday night. He really had me working up an appetite. He had tattoos up and down his arm. There's nothing more dangerous than a boy with charm. He's a one-stop shop, makes the panties dry. He's a sweet talking sugar-coated candy man. A sweet talking sugar-coated candy man.
And a couple of other pieces. So that's why I tell you, it's literally, I'm like an octopus, Octopus goes and adjusts to the white table, to the sands, to the pink, whatever. So I'm like that. Whatever the day brings, then the music kind of also affects my mood.
I always say it's never definite. It changes within our soundtrack to our life changes just with the way our lives changes. But there are always moments that just like a scent, when you hear something like with your mother's womb, it just takes you back to that moment right away. The puff sound. Oh, Freddie Mercury, it was just his auction just now, like at Sotheby's. They sold off everything of his records, items. Well, what's your favorite Queen record or track?
I think the Bohemian Rhapsody, I just absolutely love it.
Of course.
It just has a vulnerability, I think, in a way also the hidden vulnerability in that one. But he was just a genius. It was an absolutely, the movie and his interviews, if you go YouTube nowadays, is just a miracle,
My time has come, sent shivers down my spine, body's aching all the time. Goodbye, everybody, I've got to go. Gotta leave you all behind and face the truth. Mama, ooh, will know.
I find all the strong personalities, and I'm particularly interested not of the days of glory, it's on the days of the doubts and in the days of, sadness and loneliness. And so very often you actually hear, and I read when I was becoming a singer myself, I read a lot of biographies, and I was, trying to figure out what was the cracking point for them, to look and exit from their everyday life, or what made them what they have become now. And so it was incredible, absolutely incredible.
That's why I started this conversation series, because I wanted to figure out how the cultural greats made it and trying to figure you out so I can learn from you.
Well, how did I say? It was a desperate outcome, because I wanted to be an actress and I failed in exams. They didn't accept me. Then I wanted to be like a cultural attaché of organizing the things, but I can't make a business plan, like write it down. I have no patience of reading all of the emails and everything.
Well, you're not good with Excel, is that what you're trying to tell me?
Awful. I was trying to sell furniture and I was so confused
Really?
which piece belonged to which by the presentation and a couple of other things. And because I was singing in my dad's choir, and because I was somehow musically, let's say, active, playing the piano and stuff, and I thought, oh my God, what else? I said, well, let's try singing, and thank God it happened.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, really. So it was a coincidence. I wanted to go on stage. I actually wanted to be a musical singer, and I thought, like Barbra Streisand, it was so phenomenal. Theater, Liza Minnelli and things like that. I thought, this is what it is. The costumes, the light, theater, speaking, dancing, all of that together. And I thought, this is just amazing. But, somehow it has happened that I still can do it, just in a slightly different parallel, let's say, different universe. And in a way, it's amazing how different this art form is, and yet how direct in comparison actually it speaks to the people. So in a way you would say that classical music maybe has a longevity, on centuries.
Yes.
We are kind of taking that history and bringing it out again, whereas the musical maybe has a shorter span of life.
Yeah, as Sir Norm Rosenthal was also on the show, because this is real music, because it just stays for past our lives. It's like, who knows if people will talk about David Bowie in 100 to 200 years, but they still will talk about Mozart.
Well,
but
yes, but
who knows?
Well, it has to be realistic. I mean, Mozart also wrote many operas that nobody really knows, or they've been played once or twice, and not every genius was genius in every opera piece that they've written. That's the same with the Verdi or with Wagner. There are a lot of pieces that we listen, but if you would look into the Verdi, you would name 4, 5, maybe 6 pieces that on a daily basis, and there must be a reason why the rest of them are not as present.
Hey, I would be happy just to have 5 that made it as well. I'll take 1. Do you have a favorite Barbra Streisand? While we talk about Barbra Streisand.
Oh yes, I love People.
People who need people. People in the world, where children needing other children, and yet letting our grown-up hide all the need inside, acting more like children than children.
That's the one of the songs, and from Yentl, that movie of the Yentl that she does is just Papa, Can You Hear Me? That maybe is also one of the songs that I listen a lot to kind of find myself again, or in the moments of vulnerability. Yes, because the text and the way she also sings is just unbelievable. It really is unbelievable.
Papa, can you hear me? Papa, can you see me? Papa, can you find me in the night? Papa, are you near me? Papa, can you hear me? Papa, can you help me not be frightened? Looking at the skies, I seem to see a million eyes. Which ones are yours? Where has waved goodbye and closed its doors. The night is so much darker, the wind is so much colder. The world I see is so much bigger now that I'm alone.
I mean, opera or Broadway, it's so close. I don't think it's that in terms of expressing emotions.
Yeah, classical singer and classical opera singer, in a way, I believe, and I can hear sometimes also even the Frank Sinatra, they did have a training that wasn't just a pop music training.
Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars, and let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you.
It was different breathing also, and the way they produced the sound. Nowadays I feel when I hear a lot of pop singers singing very nasally, and technically not, let's say, in an ideal position as me as a technically,
a real singer?
practically trained,
Yes,
classically trained singer, I mean, because we don't have microphones. You have to think. We go in a house like Metropolitan with 4,000 people in there and we sing without mics. So it's all what our body can produce, the pressure, the muscles, the tension, the vocal cords, we use it differently. So when I hear somebody, I say, come relax, breathe deeper, just relax the soft palate, just, place the voice somewhere else. So that's why at home I usually don't listen opera because I permanently am on a scan of hearing what they do.
I was about to ask you,
So, I love pop music because it just becomes very, very independent.
But you don't analyze technically when you hear, let's say you're in a taxi here and Madonna comes on. Do you listen to her?
No.
You just enjoy the music?
I just enjoy the music. And it's strange enough, if you would ask me now to repeat the words of all of these songs that I've heard for 70, 100 times, I can't.
Careless Whisper.
Yeah. No, I can't. And, I would remember the first phrase and then I don't know the text anymore because I shut out my professional memory box and I just enjoyed the melody and I just enjoyed the text at that very moment. But I wouldn't be able to recite the song that I've heard for 300 times, the Candyman. I can't say the text. I just know it's Candyman, but the rest, when I would hear it, I know what it is, and enjoy it every time. But it's like, oh, wow.
And you let it go straight to the heart.
Yeah.
But then how important is actually the sound of the theaters, of the rooms then? I mean, I'm sure you have some preferences of different theaters.
There are houses which have been built in an old style, as I would say, where people really thought about the walls being done by metal or by wood or by, concrete that bounces off, about the chairs fitted with velour or, not as a hard and absorbent material like silk, for example, would be. There are houses where you feel that you can sing freer because the voice relaxes, you don't need to concentrate so much. There are the drier houses where you really need to know what you're doing so the sound penetrates. We sing above, or we have to be heard above the 60, 80 people orchestra, so everything that bounces back helps you. Like this hall has a very, very big echo.
Mm-hmm.
So if I would sing here with the piano, you have to give like 1/3 of the quality of your voice because the room speaks for you. Whereas you would go like in a Congress hall where everything's with the soft, you would really need to work to make that sound vibrate.
Do you have your top 3 stages? Are you allowed to say that? I don't know. But in terms of sound, nothing else.
I mean, I have to tell you, I love to sing in Metropolitan. That house has a wonderful acoustic. Teatro Colón in Buenos Aires, obviously, is magical. I love Vienna. really, really enjoy singing there. Also Munich. Munich is a slightly bigger house, and you need to kind of accept the size of it, being in European houses. I in general like big houses. To have audience very close is very, very intimidating in a way, because if you go on a stage and you sing, it becomes a very personal, very intimate, and very kind of naked feeling process. So in the opera, once you have the people a little bit further away, it's also physical. It's attention, it's sometimes the voice, a lot of muscle work and everything. And if you don't have the public as close observing literally all your feelings of your teeth by high notes on your maximal, it kind of relaxes you a bit.
Yeah. I first saw you and I was blown away. So really, at the Royal Opera, which is smaller, it's more intimate. And talking about Velvety, it feels very intimate. But you have an incredible stage presence. I mean, your voice, of course, but, we reference some Broadway here, and, there's so much emotion in your body language. It's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's when I fell in love. I was like, you have to come on my show.
Thank you. I love theater. I love theater, and I'm physical in that. Absolutely. And I believe that as long as your body allows you to do that, and your technique and your breathing supports it, I think you have to go for it. The great actors, if you would look the great actors on a Broadway or on a theater, the way they walk, the way they sit down, the way they gestures, and you can see by really also in a cinematic world, there are a couple of little details where great actors always bring it in. Meryl Streep has her look that she uses. That's all the way she kind of turns their head. You look at Jack Nicholson and or Robert De Niro, I adore Robert De Niro. And I mean, he has that kind of light, smirky kind of smile, and I believe that in opera we can bring those details, particularly now with the HDs.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, who have seen that in a theater says, oh my God, there is so much going on. It's not just the sound that you can see for the third balcony at the last row.
Yeah.
You know what I see? So, and because my mom was working also in a drama theater, and I wanted to become a drama theater, I spent a lot of time of actors learning the body language, how the back can play your state of mind, how just one gesture of the hand, declares your position, and I love to do that. And very often it helps me also, like in a lightning, discharge the energy that has built up, and touching something or moving something. It just kind of gives either an extra impetus or releases for the next phrase that's coming. And I use it very, very selfishly also. And I believe that sometimes for some of my colleagues, it's maybe too much, and I have to kind of block myself.
Pace yourself. Piano.
Well, because I grew up in the countryside, and my grandparents had a farm, so I rid the horses without the saddle, and I jumped on the cows and pretended they are my horses. So in that respect, I'm wild. As long as I can do it, I want to do it.
I love it. I can see you riding some cows and horses. Why not? Talking about acting and classical music, life is beautiful.
Yeah.
I think your rendition of Offenbach is beyond.
Thank you.
What's your take of that scene, I guess, or that movie, and classical music generally in movies, how it interacts with the acting as well on screen?
The classical music, you mean? I think nowadays we are taking that curtain of distance away. A lot of people are less scared of actually entering the opera house and coming into the opera, because we are trying also to modernize it. And even though for many the way of singing seems to be comical, because it's not in a way natural, of course, because on a daily basis nobody would sing like that. However, I think that the vibration that the classical music brings out, because it's a live experience and because it's live production, all on the sound in that evening, with every energy that is in the house on that evening, it becomes very, very special. And I believe that if you would dig a little bit deeper, and the stories from 200 years ago, if you take away the crown, if you take away the stories of the women movements and whatever nowadays it would be, it becomes very legitimate to the nowadays. You look at the Carmen, a lot of women get killed at the end. You look at Lady Macbeth, a lot of going on in the power games. You look at the patriarchal story like AIDA in a way, the same is still going on, just in a different shape. And I think if the people would open a little bit more their eyes, also, and not just think, opera, it's old stuff and blah, 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 but you would try to get these stories and relate and actually see that the neighbor has this story going on, with either the lovers or the family drama or whatever. So I think also with the modern technology that we have with the projections, with the costume possibilities, with the HDs, as I mentioned before, also collaborating, with in a more modern way of expressing, I think we can actually bring it very close and make it very, very cinematic.
It's funny you mention that, because I'm always thinking, how can you reach a younger, a broader audience with classical music without them feeling intimidated by it?
Yeah, I think that the problem is that they are confronted with it as a shock, and they do not have a slow step into it. And I believe that starts in the school. You have to give a kid at the age of 7 or 8 first touch with it. You bring it to the story like Magic Flute or Barbiere di Sevilla or Carmen for that matter, You bring something that is easy to understand. You can't start 16, exactly. You can't bring a 16 years old into Wozzeck, or into the Wagner Gotte Dämmerung, and expect them to live fascinated about it. Miracles do happen, but far too seldom. And I think that, for example, in my times when I was growing up in a school, we were brought into the musical programs where a symphony orchestra with a conductor would take apart the Peter and the Wolf. And they would show different instruments, and they would say where the story goes and blah, blah, blah. And then you would go, like there is in the Vienna Staatsoper, you have the Fledermaus, you have a magic flute for all, and you have a costumes coming in. And it becomes like a Lion King a little bit, So if you would introduce the touch of music, what it is, don't bring them to Mahler symphony, you can bring them to Mozart symphony. Don't take them, as I said, to Wagner. Bring them to something much lighter, Cavalleria Rusticana, 1 hour 15. The story is very real, it's very emotional, the music is overwhelming, Why not to that? And choose, a good program. Every opera house has nowadays student tickets, and access for the general rehearsals, for example. They actually don't even pay. They have a program education, Why don't you bring to the opera an excursion of the kids at the age of 12, show them what it is, tell them the story, make it funny.
Yeah.
We also have funny stories in opera houses that has happened, So why not to turn the twist instead of, classical music, very serious, you study 25 years and then you can become, and sometimes you don't make it. Why that part? You can turn it from the other angle.
Very smart way to approach it. Is that maybe after singing career, maybe where you could see yourself? Back to the cultural attaché?
So, I don't know. I mean, I'm very happy of sharing my experience, and telling the stories. And I like to talk to people, and I like to open their eyes in a certain way. My ideal future continuation would be actually teaching for and being the bridge for the young students who have just finished or about to finish their studies and yet not have entered the theater. That bridge between what you do, because some young singers are ready to go into the theater and start to work. Some needs a master's, some needs go to the opera studios, some needs can go to the small house with the leading roles, some can go to the big house with the small roles, and just to help them a little bit, because I've gone through that. And I know nearly every theater, and I know now the intendants, and I know how the future might look, agencies, and so that would interest me a lot. And because I have a very wide repertoire also that I've been singing. I've been working with a lot of coaches and a lot of great people who taught me what's the difference between Mozart and Puccini, and how you sing verissimo and what bel canto requires, so to say. And I would like to share that because it justifies the time that I invested, that it can be helped not only egoistically for me, but also bring that also the input, let's say, as value in a society. Not only now that I can sing and that people say that my voice, my performance gives them something, but, once I cannot sing, I don't want to die. I would like to continue to share.
Be a mentor.
Yeah.
Well, to our listeners who might not be familiar with classical music, what is the difference between Mozart and Puccini?
Well, it is the phrasing, definitely. It's the way you set the voice. It's the line of the one phrase that you would do. You can't slide as much. It's just, very purely gesagt. The Mozart is very instrumental way of singing. The body is, how should I say, needs to react in advance much more to be able to place a pure, clear sound. Whereas with a Puccini, you can drag it, you can expand it, you can slide it, you can, open it up.
Is that because of cultural differences? Like German,
it's the way
Italian?
it's written also. It's also the orchestration below it. But you look very often in the big arias, you have a couple of instruments only playing, whereas the Puccini would go with the big lines, when everybody blows the sound out of violin or out of the horns. So the way you would enter the phrase and what you would do with the phrase and with the voice, or instead of ta 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 ta. So that's also the technical translation. That was the word I was looking for. What you do with your body.
Beautiful. To go slightly more intimate.
Oui.
What's your go-to falling in love or heartbreak song? I think we got Heartbreak through Careless Whisper, so it's really falling in love.
Yeah. I think that song really serves me quite a lot. I mentioned also the Yentl. I think that one goes very well. To be honest, when I really, really heartbroken, I go out of the house. I go out of the house in the woods. I go somewhere by the sea, and I don't need in that moment to have I need wind. I think I need nature that just kind of blows it out, of my head. Maybe the Jackson, the World, yes, that one maybe would rip it kind of apart a little bit. Also for me, wouldn't know now really any better. That would be the first impulse to put it. I think that probably these 2-3 songs would kind of trigger it and wow.
There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love. And this place is much brighter than tomorrow. And if you really try, you'll find there's no need to cry. In this place, you feel there's no hurt or sorrow. There are ways to get there if you care enough for the living. Make a little space, make a better place. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire.
But when it's not wow, it's more like
No, I know, yes, I know. No, but exactly. I think that Ravel's Bolero definitely is one of the pieces that you would just would want to jump on that person that, you very, very deeply desire. I have to tell you, when I'm happy or when I'm completely in love, I don't need music. I have that energy on my own. Mm-hmm. And I how should I say, I wake up in the morning and I'm already there. It's those days when I'm tired or when I'm very sad. The Waltz of Danube, the way it starts and then it just grows into it, that's also the music when I sometimes come into the theater and I say, oof, kind of like hard. One song now falls me in the Kurt Elling. I love Kurt Elling, the Nature Boy. There was a boy, one very da-da-dee-na-na.
There was a boy, a certain strange, enchanted boy. They said he'd traveled very far, very far, over land and sea. A little shy and sad of eye, but very wise was he.
I love that song, and he has a rendition there where it's in a live concert where he does, and it starts very slowly with the piano and him just singing a cappella, and then it just goes, and then there's a variation with the piano and stuff, and it's like 7 minutes long or something. So it's a great song for me as well. But as I said, when I'm happy in love, I don't need it. I'm music myself.
I love it.
No, it's just because, I have to tell you, when I'm at home and I'm a mom and I'm, a housewife and blah, 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 I have no time for that. There is the routine of the day that you have. It's those days when I'm alone, like now in Berlin, I'm alone here and I'm in a production and stuff. I kind of have time between the activities that I do in a theater, to kind of think actually what I feel or what I need, or or maybe there is a love in the air when you feel that with a colleague you have such a rapport and you want to trust that person to be truthful when you go then on the stage, so you might have a little armor flying somewhere around and you think, wow, now it really is the time. But I separate those people very much. I always say there is Elīna that lives the everyday life and there is a Garanča that has that part of the profession, which, for a lot of people and for me at times is very glamorous and very exciting. You meet great people, you travel great places and stuff. However, it's a part. It's for a couple of hours on the day of the show. Before and after, it's Elīna that lives the life.
Sometimes when I see like a very romantic scene on stage, I'm like, this can't be acted.
And very often it's not. No,
yes.
and very often it's not. I think that's why probably there are so many couples who join as a couple whilst they are shooting a movie or whilst they are doing a theater, because you spend
So much
active daytime with that person much more than with your family. And because the text and the music, what you sing and the emotions that you have leads you to fall in love with that person. Then you have a duet, and there is a lot of... I have a funny story. I was doing a Carmen production, and the second act becomes very intimate because when, you have that scene when he comes from the prison to see her, and she dances around, and very often you land on the floor, on the table or something like that. There was change of the scene rehearsal or something, so I come in and we start to do exactly that without actually getting to that scene. We just started to do that scene, and it was so funny that we kind of landed on the thing, and the tenor was between my legs, so to say, on the table. I said, "Hello, I'm Elīna." And he said, "Hello, I'm so-and-so." It just straight to the business, so to say. And I believe that after 7-8 weeks, sometimes that you do in a production, you do actually feel
something for that person.
Something for that person, and I think that these nights become very special, not only for the audience because they see live emotions, it becomes also very special for that singer couple that they do, because you've transmitted what you lived on that very moment. Not now Elīna and Mark, or Elīna and Peter, or Elīna and blah, blah, blah. You have Carmen and Don Jose, Romeo and Juliet, or you have Ter and Charlotte, These are the two characters. And sometimes you sing, and it's like, oh, okay.
Aqua.
Yeah, exactly. It happens.
Yeah.
It does happen.
Oh, wow. What's the sexiest song?
Oh, I'm just 60. I don't know. Really, I don't know. I mean, for the classical music, definitely what I mentioned, the from Ravel Bolero is definitely the piece that... I think in case you don't know how to start it, just put that music and, it's going to develop on itself.
Switch off the light and see what happens.
It's going to develop on it. In a pop music, I wouldn't know. I never needed it, really. I mean, everything to do with the guitar it would be my trigger, like acoustic, Spanish acoustic with guitar would with a glass of wine would definitely guide me into the right direction.
I love it.
I mean, the Gypsy Kings are probably, this is for me very erotic music, I would say. That group, I think they was called that time. So I don't know if, nowadays we can still name them that, but I know them from like 90s, 80s, something like that. That would definitely be something that I would say.
Bambolea, porque mi vida yo la prefiero vivir así. Bambolea, porque mi vida yo la prefiero vivir así. No te da perdón de Dios. Por en mi vida la fortuna.
Well, to wrap up our little chat, if your life would be a movie, what song would play in the end credits in your Netflix documentary?
Well, from one side, I would say I don't care because once I'm dead,
I
will
didn't
not
say you
hear
were
it
going to be
anymore.
dead. I'm just like, it's
No,
like your
but-
biography.
Yeah. I think that this well, the rainbow, dee-da-dee, because it's such a positive, and I think it's such a sunny and light and pure and transparent, so positive song. I think I probably would like that to have, because I think it just carries you.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue.
Then there is a from Balfe, I dreamt that
I dreamt that you just sought my hand, that nights upon bended knee, and with vows no maiden's heart could withstand, they pledged their fate to me.
I think it's also the song, the Gypsy song, something like that would definitely also trigger me. From Strauss, Vegan Lied, I love it. Absolutely love it. But I mean, if the one you would choose, probably the Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Perfect. Let's leave it at that. Thank you so much for being on air
My
with us.
pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
On a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me.
Thank you for tuning in this week. If you want to listen to the full playlist, visit areonair.com or our Spotify channel. You can also find us on Instagram and on YouTube at areonair. And a big thank you to my wonderful team at Studio Neu. I'm Armand Nafei.
and I'll speak to you soon.